Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's bring this special council meeting to order. I'd like to recognize that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Fort Nelson and Prophet River First Nations. We acknowledge the treaty that we have, and we acknowledge the rights within that treaty that belong to both of us. Please be advised that today's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually and is being streamed and recorded. The reason this went to a special meeting instead of committee of the whole meeting is because there is a proclamation that needs to be done before the 1st of October to the 7th, and our meeting is not until like the 8th. So we'll do that today as well. Moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Councillor Soul. So yeah, that's what it's been like a couple of weeks. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. So we will move the proclamation to when the delegation comes, and so that leaves us with the Northern Health Fall Prevention Focus Group here to speak to us today. So welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I know you've got a meeting with some of the seniors this afternoon.
That's right.
So thank you very much for giving us, I guess, the opportunity to hear what you have to say. Thank you for coming to the community. It's not a small drive. So we appreciate that. And the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So my name is Erin Powers. I am the Healthy Settings Advisor for the Northeast area, and that includes the Fort Nelson area as well. I'm fairly new to the role. So there's 3 across northern BC. So I'm really excited to be part of this role. I come to it as a planner as well as some public health background. So what I do is help and support communities with healthy community initiatives. So it looks different for each community because each community kind of needs something a little bit different. So I'm looking really forward to working with the Fort Nelson area on some healthy community initiatives. Part of that is what we're doing here today with the seniors and the fall preventions. And so I'm going to pass it over to Natasha, who is our injury prevention lead.
Sure, thank you. Thanks for having us. So my name is Natasha Thorne. I'm a regional nursing lead for injury prevention. So my portfolio covers all of Northern Health and all injuries you can imagine, from newborns to end of life. We can dive into the project a little bit after, but yeah, I support communities, municipalities, organizations in any of their injury prevention goals. So lots to talk about if you have interest. Yeah.
Great. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Abigail Steinberg. I am the Northeast Medical Health Officer. Today is my 2nd day officially. So feeling really fortunate to be here in Fort Nelson during my first week. I have spent about 7 to 8 months with Northern Health with the medical health officer team, divided over kind of 2 stints during my medical training. So know a bit about Northern Health and some of the communities. I'm a Yukoner myself. I grew up in Whitehorse, so have some of those northern roots. Stay connected and work with all you folks in the future.
Hi, sorry, I'm hiding in the corner here. I'm Dr. Raquel Kling. I'm another one of the medical health officers for Northern Health. So I support the North Interior, but I'm here because I support Natasha and her work in injury prevention. And maybe just speaking for Abby and Erin, Abby's filling a role for the Northeast as Northeast Medical Health Officer that's been vacant for over 3 years now. So yeah, she's your medical health officer administration. So her and Erin are both really good touch points for anything public health related.
Well, we can come up to the table if you like.
I'm good here.
So, yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Curtis Mann. I'm actually a resident of social training and public health.
Thank you, Curtis. So I'm also a Fort St. Johnner, just so you know, I am a Northerner. I'm a local person that's been here for about 30 years. So I'm really excited to be doing work in the area on a regional kind of aspect. I worked for the PRD for quite a while as well. So I kind of know the region other than the Northern Rockies area. So.
I thought I recognized.
Oh yeah, yeah. My family's been there for quite a while. So, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cal.
And Councillor Kyle Andrews.
I'm Rob Fraser, I'm the mayor.
Councillor Lorraine Gerwing.
And Souls Councillor.
Let's start back here.
Deputy Corporate Manager, Stacey Bassett. Erin Lavale, Deputy CEO. Jamie McIver, Corporate Manager.
You guys did so fast. So one of the things as well, when we asked for this meeting, it was intended to be a discussion. So we're really hoping to learn a lot from you all because you know your area very well. And we're really wanting to kind of dive into some of those injury prevention things. So Natasha has a few questions that we're kind of going to run through, as well as what we're doing here in Fort St. John or Fort Nelson.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit about the project here. We're going to, I think last count was 18 communities across the north, where we're traveling to communities, meeting with local governments, but particularly older adults, anyone 65 years or older. We're looking for that healthy population who's, you know, running all the community centers and active and engaged in their communities. And what we are hoping to learn is that have innovative ways to support older adults or healthy aging across the lifespan. And so we're really finding that it's going and talking to people is where we're learning this all sorts of rich information. We are also looking for narrowing it down to falls prevention specifically. Northern Health for injury prevention, falls are the #1 top priority because we know it's a massive issue for community members, both getting into hospitals, the rehab afterwards, but also the impacts on people's lives after. So 50% of people that fall don't regain pre-fall functioning. So we really want to work towards preventing the fall in the first place and supporting healthy aging in general. So that's kind of the basis of the program. In December of last year, we got a grant from the DC CDC Foundation for people. So we're hearing across the north that there was tons of programs and services that were running through community organizations or informal groups that people were like meeting in A&W for coffee and getting social interactions, some physical activity pre-pandemic. And then through the pandemic, people have disconnected a little bit and are finding it challenging to want to even come to groups anymore, or volunteers that have volunteer pools have dried up a little bit across the north, that kind of thing. So we would love to learn from Fort Nelson what's happening specifically around healthy aging. If there's any way that our team in public health can support, we have a bit of grant information as well. Through this whole process, we're going to do a little bit of a snapshot one-pagers of each of the folks groups that I'm sure you can imagine and guess are some of the issues that are facing older adults, like snow in the winter and ice and things like that. So those reports, the final report is due in June, but we're going to start releasing in the new year once we've done all of that. So yeah, I'm happy to like answer any questions you have about the project as well.
Yeah, so
No, I was just waiting for everybody to jump up and start asking questions, but didn't hear any. I know this project's what you're doing. I mean, I'm a health and safety professional. I came out of the ranks of the WCD, and so I've spent a lot of time in the workplaces dealing with fall prevention, and so I've been in this job for a year now. Councillor Gerwing is our health portfolio. around our community that are dealing with the seniors. I've recently started going to the Lamplighters for lunch on every other Monday, and I learned about bingo. I'm learning a lot. Still just making my feelers in there. I'm not getting a lot of feedback about what's going on in the community from the folks, because I think they're just surprised to see me. They're surprised to see me there.
We're not used to young guys like you.
Yeah. Well, I did win the double line sandwich last time, so I'm winning. I'm winning. Sorry.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Are you going to be looking at how delays in receiving surgeries or joint replacement is like we don't have a physiotherapist here. We now have a physiotherapist. Assistant would be the wrong word.
Rehab assistant, I think,
Sorry.
for occupational.
Yeah. Anyways, we do have somebody now that can take a program from a physiotherapist and then guide the patient through that. So, but we had nothing for years and years and years. And I'm just wondering if you are looking at all of those aspects, because I think that that would be, that would have a lot of learnings in that aspect.
Yeah, great question. We're diving a tiny bit into the acute care system, but mostly just to understand what is happening in local teams with local teams. But really the portfolio is focused on the upstream. They stay healthy, like how do we support healthy aging? So we're not really jumping into any of the acute care or after people have fallen. I absolutely agree. There is a huge burden in communities and for people who have fallen, and what that looks like for getting back to pre-fall functioning. But that's beyond the scope of this project and even the portfolio. We're really just hoping to prevent the fall in the first place and get systems both within Northern Health, but also supporting community action as well to really like keep people healthy. Yeah. We also do not have any funding associated with this project. Unfortunately, I'd love to have a magic wand that brought a pot of money with us, like a leprechaun, bringing a pot of gold. But we don't have any of that right now. But what we do have is the voice of bringing the Northern perspective. Communities, and here's how we can support, and maybe I'd love to see some funding one day, but you know, as we know that there's budget constraints everywhere. So, but we will be bringing this back to the provincial table for sure, just to say this is what we're learning. There is a Ministry of Health directions to support healthy aging. So there's going to be a strategy released in the winter that we're hoping will have targets attached. I've never seen it before, but we know it's coming down, and so that we have a strong voice for the North to say this is what healthy aging looks like and how we can support them.
Okay, I don't want to belabor the point.
Yeah.
But if we're focusing on healthy aging in community, then facing in terms of replacements or knee replacements, or in this community alone, we don't have anybody currently that can help with sores related to diabetics. And so they're having to travel all the way to Fort St. John to get treatment. And so if it's on the foot, then that can lead to falls. So it's those types of lack of services and delayed access to services and not equitable access to services that I know we're looking at preventing, but I think that not receiving treatment, it doesn't help, right? And it doesn't matter that you've lived a healthy life up until your arthritis has, you know, gotten to a point where it's preventing you from doing whatever. So
yeah, and we are part of a Health Authority to be able to answer any questions that you might have that are specific to maybe the acute care system or the community care system. It's just that our portfolio is public health focused. Yeah, thanks.
Maybe I can ask you guys a follow-up question based on your point, which I think is very true. Like, we do need a range of services, whether they're acute care, community care, to prevent calls, to support healthy aging. So you mentioned already that there's no physiotherapist, there's might be one physiotherapist assistant, and that there's no wound care for diabetic care. Like, what, can you just tell us about what services are available in the community and what isn't, just so we have like, you know, what to be held for, like what, what are the barriers for, you know, healthcare and services, especially community oriented services?
I don't know where you want to start. Many doctors now. We just got 2 new doctors. We have 5, so we have 5 doctors. So we are so incredibly lucky to have 5 doctors practicing in our community. We have
one nurse, I think. I think they filled all the nursing positions.
I'm not
That's what I
sure.
heard the other day.
Yeah. We don't, well, we finally have received consistent ultrasound services, but it's all agencies. So we get that every 4 to 6 weeks. I think the last I heard, there was 75 on the wait list for the next intake. We have pretty consistent x-ray services. Our lab is back not sending everything down south. So at one time we had absolutely no lab here. In terms of diagnostic,
No CT scan.
no CT scan.
How many are on the wait list? 150. Last month.
Yeah. So we truly don't have equitable access to standard healthcare services, right? It's just most recently that we even have consistent ultrasound services. We were having to travel to Fort St. John and beyond for the most basic of ultrasound services, which was very problematic for doctors, patients, and we are incredibly lucky to have doctors that are able to do trauma care in our local hospital. We don't have a lot of mental health services in the community. We also don't have a continuing pediatric services. I think we used to have one that came in monthly, but I don't know whether that still happens. Jaylene, help me out.
What about home care?
Sorry?
Is there any home care services?
We do have home care services and it has been expanded. I don't know whether it's fully meeting the need right now or not.
So I think, how long has Lee been in the community full-time now? Like over a year now?
Yeah.
So PCHS has a community paramedic, or community medicine program, which has been, I think, has been a great enhancement to the home and community care program because, well, she's co-located at the health unit, Lee is, and so that kind of supports that interprofessional environment, and then is able to kind of work with the home and community care nurses in terms of where that overlap or dissonance might be in terms of the care provided. So
yeah,
and she's able to offer quite a range of programs through her scope that maybe a home and community care program can't. So I think that kind of full scope of programming is now available where it wasn't a year ago. So that's been a huge asset to the community having. And then she also communicated that they're trying to get a second community paramedic in the community, which I think because we see a bit of a shift there that it's not all emerge care that's needed. It's that kind of, like you said, the upstream piece. And we're also, especially seniors, and either they can't or they're reluctant to go to their physicians with the aches and pains, not all, but some. And so what's concerning them, or, you know, just seeing those changes in blood pressure, blood sugar, whatever it is. So Grace Manor, which is an annex of our building, it's an independent living for seniors, but they have established a little room where they can kind of see her clients in private too. So it's not the big room coffee talk where people are talking about their aches and pains, but it's a little bit more of a private setting. So I think that's, you know, it's not family medicine, it's not necessarily nursing, but it's just that additional ability to collect information that maybe you can't squeeze into your 15-minute physician visit or whatever. So
So Lamplighters have recently partnered with the United Way on the Better at Home program that has just started up. We don't have a nutritionist in the way we have. I don't believe anybody even comes into the community anymore in terms of that. Yeah.
Seniors transport, put the bus, moves them around the community, so they have the ability to get around if there are programs for them. They have the
But
ability
not
to.
on the weekend.
What does that look like?
Limited.
Like they'll pick them up at their home
Yeah.
and take them to the appointment and then home from the appointment?
Yeah, or the event or whatever.
Yeah, and there's like shopping days, like there's to go to the grocery, they've got a schedule set up,
Yeah.
and they'll go pick, you sign up, and they'll pick everybody up on Monday, go to the grocery store.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And we do, like, I don't know if you have time, but make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you go and check out our rec center.
We did.
You've been? Okay, perfect.
So impressive.
That's
Yeah,
part of the
right.
program too, is helping get the seniors to the rec center for aquafits and stuff like that too.
And we like 40 swim passes over the course of the year. You can take fitness classes. I think it's like $1 or something, right? So yeah, check out the leisure access pass. That's off of our website. All the information is there. That's a phenomenal program. Yeah.
On the rec center, we did notice a bunch of posters there with some really great activities for older adults. What's your experience with that? Have you known anybody to take the programs? Have they liked them?
I just know that all winter that walking track gets a lot of use.
Excellent.
And it is actually used lots quite.
Yeah, and they run, the community paramedic runs her health and wellness program out of there in the wintertime. I know that there is a group of ladies that have been doing aquafit. I don't know. But we should celebrate. That's a good idea. Anyways, yeah. So there is a really strong contingent of people that use the aquatic center and also use the walking track. I'm not sure what the uptake is in terms of the classes. We could get that information, I'm sure, but I just don't have it.
And the same group of individuals that do the swimming and aquafit, they also usually walk around the rec center and the bleachers and stuff too.
Yeah, they've created quite a little group, yeah.
This is, yeah, fantastic. We have heard all across the north, Better at Home community paramedics are like pillars of the community. I was lucky enough to be invited to the community paramedics community practice, so I got to speak to them across the province and hear the great work they're doing, but they're really like key
Had a community paramedic, and then he left the position, and then it took over a year to get that position filled, and that was really, really detrimental to the program that he had built up. It took a long time to get that back up and running, right? So I think that is the program is so strong and so needed and so valuable, but it's totally out of our control, right? Because somebody else does the hiring, and so when a position like that is vacant for a year that our seniors have been relying on, it's very, very problematic.
Yeah, definitely something that we've heard across the north as well, that there's when one person leaves the community for whatever reason, a massive gap is needed to be filled for sure. So I'm curious, I am losing the title of the lots of work being put into like connected streets or sidewalks and that kind of thing. And I'm just curious if there's any goals associated with that or with other strategies here that are connected to healthy aging, or like, I guess, like across the lifespan, but if there's something specifically for healthy aging connected to the strategy, or if there's considerations that went into that strategy that you heard from older adults.
Accessibility is a big
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
and like, actually, there's a working group working downstairs right now
Okay.
for the community for accessibility amongst like all of our public places and stuff, so.
Mhm.
And that was a big part of our downtown revitalization, was making sure it was meeting the new accessibility, right? And like as far as direct to, I guess, looking at aging, and maybe not, but that could be a link with the accessibility.
Accessibility, but also for falls,
Mhm.
right? They can look at parking lots, they can look at entrances, they can look at, places where falls can happen, and or where there's congregations of people. And I mean, the hospital entrance is a great example. There's a grade going up there, and there's no way to assist anybody into the hospital front entrance, right? And so a simple walkway with a handrail all the way along the parapet wall there would help with that, right? And it's those sorts of ideas from a physical plant perspective that I think probably we could use an assessment on. I don't know if that's part of what you're doing, but that's fall prevention, right? Is recognizing the routes that seniors need to take, particularly into the facilities that they frequent.
Yeah, absolutely. We've heard about even stairs in public facilities as well being too cold and not for the older adults. Certainly in Fort St. John, we have such a long walking track, and there's not a single bench along that. So some of the older adults find that very daunting to take that entire track. This one's a little bit shorter, which was nice to see, and I did see some benches in there as well. Maybe not necessarily along the track, but
On
yeah.
either end.
On either end.
benches,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Yep. And our parks too, we are looking at accessibility in our parks. So there's been some work done in our premium park, the Art Fraser Park there. I see that they extended that cement sidewalk, so anybody with mobility issues don't have to be walking on the uneven ground to access.
Like the sliding hill, I've heard a lot of raves about the work we did with sliding hill in the summer.
And then our Andy Bailey Park, which is our camping park, just accessibility, so you can see what's going to be done at that park to improve accessibility.
I'm curious about the sliding hill, what improvements are done or changes.
We've got a fire pit there, and it was gated off, like fenced off, and there was no way for anybody with accessibility issues to kind of access the fire pit. So now there's a nice ramp to get in there, just open it up a little bit more so that it's more accessible for all. And then there were some humps in the hill that have got flattened out for the kids, and then I just heard a lot of good things this year about the sliding hill specifically. So.
Is that like it's one community sliding hill, so everyone goes to the same space?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's just past the rec center.
Yeah, great. So part of my portfolio, injury prevention, right, is that we're hearing from some communities that even just and the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, and it's called Vision Zero BC. We're about to open our third cycle of granting mid-October. We're waiting for the ministries to make their formal announcements, but we did have 2 years of cycles where we're encouraging municipalities or community organizations, whoever would like to apply for up to $20,000 in funding to support road safety initiatives that are identified in the community. We love to see infrastructure changes. Something that is an example that frequently has popped up is like rapid couple applications last year to get those installed, which maybe might help your downtown revitalization project with some funding. You guys have already have plans all laid out that maybe there's an opportunity there for us to support you. But other things are, Soto had a sledding hill built in their community, and it's to get kids safely in one space. And so there's innovative projects that are happening across the north as well, not just the regular standard infrastructure changes, but I'd invite you to participate in that. Give me, shoot me off an email if you have any questions about the application process, or if you have ideas, or you'd like to refer someone to the program, and I'd love to have that conversation too.
On that as well, Natasha. So talking about granting, Northern Health also has other grants as well. One of them is it's called the it just opened, I believe, at the I can't remember the date, but the Imagine grant, absolutely. And then the Rural, Remote, and Indigenous Food Action grant is coming up very soon. And then there's some rumors about some pretty exciting other grants for physical activity. So I'd love to send all of that information along to you. I can just send it by email, including the Vision Zero. So in some of these, you know, they're not a lot, but I think anything helps if you have somebody that's innovative to be able to use that money accordingly. And somebody that's, I know there's other communities that sometimes have kind of some plans and some visions, and then they can pop those right into some of these grants as soon as they come out. So that works for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys have any questions for us at all?
I'm interested in what you hear amongst it.
Yeah.
Are you connecting at all with the nation? Because I think they have some elders programs, you know,
Yeah.
that they're using, and you know, and understanding the connection or their preparedness, I guess, to use some of the programs that we have would be interesting to know. You know, if there's barriers there and all that, we might be able to break down so that we can get the seniors all in the same kind of programs across the communities.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And that collaboration, I think, is so important.
Yeah.
So I did try to reach out a number of times too. I think they're going through some changes with staffing in their health department right now. So unfortunately, it didn't work out for this tour, but yeah, absolutely. I'm wanting to keep in contact with them, bring them in. So.
Is there any, like, beyond falls prevention, is there any other injury prevention topics that are goals? Others have lots of injuries in communities related to things like ATVs, ORVs, that kind of thing. I'm curious if anything like that surfaces, and if there's a way that I can support some prevention efforts.
I can think of a common sentiment that needs to be worked on in the winter. Anyone that's grew up in Whitehorse knows what it's like to live in a dark environment for a long time. And about February around this part of the world, there's an awful lot of people that are depressed.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's just that sunshine and vitamin D fixes everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure, so I guess you could work toward getting them longer days. And we need to move the hot springs.
I was thinking we might be in a battle here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Okay, well, we'll whistle from our end. You whistle from your end.
You were like,
See what it comes to.
Yeah. I'm interested as well in because you obviously have the Alaska Highway going straight through town. What's the coordination with sidewalks and different initiatives for that to get people across the highway safely?
Dismal.
Well, you have a connectivity strategy.
We do, yes.
It's dismal, not so much in that we haven't managed to have some very good crosswalk systems, but it's complicated because it's a federal highway.
Yeah.
With a provincial responsibility in town. And so you're dealing with MODI, you're dealing with the federal, it's trying to figure out whose ducks to line up.
Well, a few years ago, one of our intersections the highway and over there, there's more light. We have lighting issues. Modi didn't like that. We had to take it down and put a single light over it because it wasn't to their spec. And so there are some accessibility issues like lighting that could probably be worked on. I don't know if that's a Northern Health thing, but we could probably tie it in.
It certainly works with healthy communities, right? And making sure that we're on board and collaborating on some of those, especially with Ministry of Transportation. We do have other communities in the Northeast, like Chetwynd, where we have the highway going straight through it. So one of the things that they had mentioned is when one of their people built the subway across the street, now the high school kids are trying to get across the highway instead of staying on the same side, right? So there was definitely some collaboration that needed to happen there. So yeah, and I see the similar thing in Fort Nelson here. The highway goes straight through. You've got businesses on both sides.
Yeah, I think that healthy communities be lighted, they'll need to be signed, they'll need to be safe, they'll need to have good accessibility, and I think it recognizes that. And I think we've got quite a few now. I think the connectivity across the highway
On that end of town, but not on,
yeah,
we lack.
yeah,
And safe crossings.
yeah, on the
Absolutely.
be on the south, towards the south end of the community could use some.
Like when you
Certainly
leave
most
town, you'll
activity, I
see
think,
where
up here,
there's nowhere else.
but south of airport, I guess.
Yeah.
South of
Yeah.
airport.
Yeah, there's that long section from airport all the way down to 44.
Yeah, where there's nowhere to save, and the intersections don't align either, so
Yeah,
problematic. But some of that's being addressed in the downtown revitalization.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we noticed, we took a drive through the community yesterday. We noticed lots of sidewalks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Did you get the wine painting guys here last week or something?
Yeah, we got
Perfect timing.
Well, we paint our own crosswalks. We have our
Okay.
own crosswalks, so we use polymer plastic or cold plastic.
Okay.
Line paintings. There for sure.
Yeah.
And it has been an initiative. Some of the challenges when we talk about getting across the highway is those consistent standards between what municipalities do and versus what the province does. And there's a misalignment. So like that sidewalk or crosswalk, I should say, and that's been a bit of a frustrating one for us because we know that increased lighting, increased signage, better, if it's flashing beacons, increase the safety of those crossings, especially in the Portland highway, which that section of highway is extremely lit. Like we're one of the few communities where we cross the Musqueam Bridge. And once you get past the wood line, it's dark.
Yeah.
There's adequate lighting is in the intersections essentially. So leading up to a crosswalk in the dark with significant lack of daylight winters councils creates safety concerns for us because potential impacts or conflicts with pedestrians across the highway. And that one section is one example. Is technically it shouldn't have a crosswalk that leads to a gravel shoulder. It should actually land on something. Lack of lighting, and then we looked at putting, because we run those flashing beacons, you'll see in our rec center and various, especially high traffic or high traffic areas for crosswalks. We
Right
have
along the boulevards.
Yeah. So the challenge we run to me, any kind of flashing beacon is better than nothing. But they don't recognize those, I'll call the simple ones on crosswalk signs that run with solar and Wi-Fi signal, and want big overheads and everything. But so then you get nothing because there's significant costs associated with it. So we're back to square one where we have someone crossing the highway at 6 o'clock to go to work in the mornings. And
They're making a dashboard.
And they're making a dashboard.
Yeah.
Something that's come up in other communities too is speed limits across the communities. I understand that there's lots of BBCM resolutions that have been passed about reducing speed limits in neighborhoods, and I understand signage is a burden for cost to sign communities that even want to reduce it. But as we're going through this that's happened here, or if that's something that's even on your radar or of interest at all?
It's not happened here.
No.
No. Some neighborhoods, we put up our own signs.
Well,
But don't tell anybody.
Residents you're talking about.
Don't tell anybody though, because it's not legal.
Sometimes the threat is enough.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like all our parks, they've got 30 zones and they're pretty well marked.
Schools.
And then most of our like little community areas has a park in it. Like
Yeah.
on the east side, there's a park there, so there's a good section of the east side that's a 30 zone.
Oh, good. Okay.
You know, moving up, you get the firefighter parks, there's a good section there, there's a 30 zone, right?
Oh, great.
Whether or not it's followed is a different story, but there are posted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, that's a step in the right direction, right?
30 zones spattered along the community. So
Yeah, great. Okay.
lots of stop signs too, so people.
Yeah.
we've worked with ICDC to do a number of safety studies in terms of determining best places to place shield versus stop signs.
Yeah.
To slow traffic down. So a lot of those areas, I mean, besides anywhere you go, no matter what the closest speed limit is,
Yeah.
with the hot rod, but where in terms of roads, actually the quads and the dirt bikes go faster.
Yeah, that's becoming a thing again
Yeah.
this summer for sure.
But I think when we put in all the sidewalks, that dramatically increased safety, because before, I don't know how many years, it's been at least 12 years that we've been working on it, but we had virtually no sidewalks on our residential.
Walk side by side, just don't put them on your sidewalk.
And accessibility as well.
As opposed to your, what is it, 1.5 meter standard for mowing?
So we're 1.5 meters typically in the residential areas, but they used to be meters. So a lot of
Yeah,
the sidewalks are meter or 0.9.
Yeah.
So it allows basically the standards, basically 2 strollers. But we put about $1 million in the past 10 years on new sidewalks, plus redeveloping existing sidewalks in terms of
Spent a lot of money.
anywhere that we can really rehab the sidewalk.
Do you want to talk about our snow clearing practices on sidewalks and roads, because we get a lot of accolades for that.
Yeah, slips and trips.
Yeah, okay, so we've had an increased focus, especially on the sidewalk component. Staff, but the intent of that is to be able to allow connectivity 12 months a year, especially during the winter months. We spend an awful lot of time in those sidewalks. And we have various zones, obviously downtown zones, school zones are priorities. And then residential zones are the last priority, but basically it's a sidewalk in between, including our community trail. Yeah, which was
And
something.
the community center, the buildings, the.
Yes. Intended is to allow people from connectivity, especially an alternate means of transport, or people just don't walk from a healthy perspective. Because we do get some, I mean, we get cold weather here, but we get a dry, typically dry.
Can walk
A lot of winter, which is not here now, but typically. Wouldn't be safe if they had to access it on the road or trucking through.
Climb over snow
We even
banks.
developed special ice removers for our sidewalks to run on our equipment, because it gets icy in the freeze thaw, and they'll go and chip off the ice off the sidewalks for people to.
Oh, wow.
So it works under normal conditions. We have times where you have a snow event or something that you can't keep up to everything, and you have snowbanks blocking sidewalks and blocking driveways and all this. Those are typical, those things happen. And but I say that's actually a high risk time, because there you're dealing with compromised accessibility and compromise, and we have to, you know, we part of the process that we've employed, make sure that we have really good communication with people when there's people
That's fantastic, because that is something we've heard through most communities, is that snow clearing is actually exceptional. Most people across the north feel like, local government's doing a great job. But it's interesting with older adults that are maybe having some mobility issues or things like that, that even just a little ridge of snow that's left
Yeah.
by the snow clearing is an issue. And I, with my privileged accessible body, didn't notice that before. And so I think that that's something that is coming up, and it's great that you guys have a communication strategy to try to address that and let people know.
We do have an assistance program too for.
The senior snow removal program, so we'll do their driveways.
Okay.
if they
Oh.
Through the municipality?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You sign, it's a program you can sign up for. Okay, when we're done doing all our priority spots, we'll go through.
And is it a cost?
No.
No cost.
And you do have to wait.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Do you want to speak to the lighting, where we increased the lighting?
That was another initiative we've been doing for a
Right.
while,
So we took on the initiative a number of years ago, we'll go back 10 or 12 years ago, at the same time the crosswalks, sidewalks, whatnot, where we, our own lights, so our own lights run basically steel poles, so we increased the intensity of many of them and filled in some gaps, so we did a lighting site improvement. Again, because it's so dark. Because kids want to swim in the dark, and they might want home to school in the dark, so you do the same way when they're out and about, especially their early risers. Anyway.
Yeah.
And then we work with BC Hydro, because there were a number of above ground electrical. So we filled a number of gaps in the community where it's dark areas in the community from a lighting perspective. And just recently partnered with them with the upgrade from to LED lights, which basically went a step again where they the intensity of those lights, the brightness of those lights were increased, get a better light spread. In some cases, I'm going too much. We had a little bit of feedback.
Some people's yards are really bright.
Yeah.
But in areas
For 7 months of the year. Right.
So yeah,
It made a huge difference. Though.
yeah.
Like it absolutely did. Like it was before, it was very direct, like just down, you had to be almost underneath of it for it to light anything, but now it's like spreads. It's more.
Happy to tell us.
Yeah.
That's we had the investigation for a couple of years, and then
That's where the bright spots.
Came to our attention too.
Yeah, it's like, well, we're not gonna complain about a dark spot, but right here's really bright.
That's really interesting. That's the first time I've heard that, actually just changing the bulbs is making such a difference.
We even had a price savings submitted to Hydro because they didn't want the higher LED lights, but we had something to show them like, well, the sodiums you're using now, this is how much power you're using, and these higher lights, brighter lights are being used less.
Oh, perfect.
Help convince them.
That's awesome. Every community I go to, I feel like I'm leaving the community thinking, I want to move there. Like,
Spread the word.
yeah, exactly.
We have dolls.
Yeah.
Animals, yeah.
You won't find that in any other community that you go to from.
Is about housing for older adults, and just lots of communities we visit have homes that are older, and there's lots of stairs, there's locker rooms in the basement, and what we're hearing is that there's challenges around fixing infrastructure, even for local governments, but as well as individuals in their homes to get things like railings or ramps or anything like that. And I'm curious if that's what it's like here.
I think we're the same.
If you had a handyman move to town, they'd be busy.
Yeah, we can.
Doing that sort of
people
That kind
to
of
do
just
it,
helping
yeah.
out, making more
Changing-
accessible for the elderly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
changing bathrooms, looking at stairs, looking
Even
at
just
ramps.
light bulbs, even just something like, that's something my wife's the library director, and she hears a lot, she's always trying to find somebody to help someone change a light bulb or check the fuse panel. Just that little handy
or whatever, but we don't have the inspectors here that allows us to take advantage of any of those types of grant opportunities. So that's problematic to receive those kinds of rebates back.
But from a prevention perspective, that handyman idea is really good because you've got seniors out there trying to do it themselves
Yeah.
and in 7 months of the year, it's like
And then they're falling,
conditions,
yeah.
and then they're falling, right? Because they're trying to get those types of things done.
So Better at Home could address that, but they only use volunteers and, you know, volunteers are few and far between and getting harder and harder to find in communities. So, yeah.
I know if I had that magic wand and a pot of gold, I'd love to have a traveling handyman, you know, that
Yeah,
goes around
sure,
to
yeah.
communities.
Yeah, just
Lots
a
of
general
adventures.
maintenance guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The one of my
There's such a demand
Yeah.
there, and just the availability of contractors.
I bet over time you would see fewer falls
Yeah.
from a program like
There's
that.
a 70-year-old gentleman that's doing a lot of this stuff, and he's just getting wore out now too. He's starting to cause, he's thinking he's gonna cause harm to himself, trying to help everybody else out. But he feels bad on how he hears of a friend falling, he's like, oh, if I had that railing installed for him, I could have helped him, right? So he's starting to overwork himself.
Well, partly it's because the last appliance repairman lived to be like 89 years old or 94 years old, whatever. It was Ken when he passed away. Anyways, working on people's appliances till the last minute.
Last
Yeah.
minute,
Like, just,
literally.
and so that's a really hard act to follow. And,
Yeah.
and where do you duplicate?
Yeah, definitely something we're hearing for sure. Hey?
But we're lucky to have, you know, Grace Manor, so that's independent living, but,
Okay.
in a group home kind of environment. And then we have,
Heritage.
thank you, Heritage Place. I don't know if you have visited there or not. So that's like, we qualify that as assisted living, I suppose, right? But
Yeah, semi-assisted. I
so,
think.
yeah.
When I first came here, it was a very long time ago. There was very few aged people in, they all moved away for lack of services primarily. And it, you know, this was all industry, everything was so industry focused and business focused that there really wasn't a focus at all in keeping our aging people. And much to the chagrin of our families, that as a parent. Address that particular mindset, because our old cultural norm was for them to all leave.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So now we have, yes, Dawson Creek and to the Okanagan.
Yeah.
And from a health perspective, when you have to travel out for everything,
Yeah.
you know, who even takes you, like, how do you get there? So that is a huge burden.
You put things off
Those-
knowing you have to travel.
Yes, and if you have to go for any treatments, like we have no cancer treatments available in the community at all. So yeah, it's very, very problematic. And
We just heard from our server this morning, actually, she moved here to be with her aging parents that are in us and to help them. So, yeah. We hear that for sure.
I think that is another thing that's repeated over and over again. My grandparents moved to the Okanagan when, you know, back homes, even if there is
Yes.
stairs,
yeah,
people want to live in their own homes for as long
We
as
do.
humanly possible. So we want to support that, and which is why prevention is so key for falls, but for anything health related, we want to make sure people are healthy in their homes.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a lot going on here, and I mean, I'm especially excited about the rec center and all the programs there, because as we know, the best way to prevent falls is to keep people strong and healthy for as long as possible, so that they're able to still take the stairs, they're able to still do those while they safely can. So, yeah, it's really impressive to see the programs that are here already, and some really great things that seem to be happening here. So
we have a local gym too. I don't know if you
we did see it. Yeah.
got to see that. Yeah, and we have quite a few personal trainers in the community.
Oh,
as
wow.
well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 5-6 years ago. And
Yeah, that's great.
And I hope you get a really good turnout this afternoon.
Yeah.
I intended to sit in on that just because it's a different perspective, right? Those are the people
Yeah.
living it, and I'd like to hear that myself. When we have some kind of a perspective on what we hear, but to hear it directly from the folks.
We're old
You know.
too, so we're personal.
You're not even close to being all
Well, we also are inviting anybody
Yes.
younger as well, like
Yeah, I
55
saw
and
that.
plus, because that's the people that we want to target to keep,
Yeah.
be able to keep them healthy throughout, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just when you get to that point, you go, uh-oh, it's before that.
I'm old. I'm old, I need help now.
But
Is there an aha moment?
Please,
Yeah, I've been there.
please invite anybody that you think might be interested as well. And same thing, it's just way around where we've seen the seniors first and we were able to kind of tell you guys a couple of things, but it just worked out the other way this time. So yeah, but we can share some of that information, especially in Natasha's report.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming.
thanks for coming. That's
Appreciate it.
great.
Thank you so much. And from a healthy settings perspective, I'd like to stay in contact as much as possible with different initiatives that you have going on and see where we can kind of support you guys as well through that. And that looks different in many different areas. Sometimes we do OCP reviews and bylaw reviews and just kind of have that perspective in there. And you can kind of send it out to internal departments as well. We've got climate and we've got environmental health and all of that. So yeah, please reach out.
I just saw an email that said you're gonna suspend
as well. Yeah, they are very understaffed with their environmental health officers. Absolutely. There's postings, maybe Raquel might know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, 50% vacancy for our officers, and that's better when I went than 70% vacancy we had.
Oh, yeah, come on in.
That's right. It's like a whole room.
Is it 70%
It was
vacancy?
70% vacancy during COVID, yeah. We're up to 50% vacancy for our.
That's
mental health
still-
team.
Yeah.
Still a lot of vacancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which could add considerable cost to the price of the subdivision, right? And the homes in those subdivisions, if they have to go outside and find a professional to look at what they're.
Yeah, we're trying.
So are we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a
I have no
capacity all
training.
across.
I'm in.
Just a quick 2-year course at BCAT.
Right, yeah. See you in 2 years.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah. I'll probably see you this afternoon, 1:30, I think you're gonna start, right?
One
One
o'clock.
o'clock.
Yeah, 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Not really.
And please tell everybody that's
Thank
interested.
you. Yeah. Great people.
You can leave it there. It's good. Yep.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Good. Your way out? You want to get out?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Okay, good. So can I have a mover to proclaim this? Moved by Councilor Goering, second by Councilor Souls. Is there any discussion? I think it sounds like it's been a very good program.
It has been a very good program, yeah.
In the 145 kids, 124 kids, sorry, were
Yeah.
supported?
Yeah.
Last year alone.
I think there were I think she said 733 in the province of BC, and Fort Nelson was 124
Oh, wow.
of
Good
those
job.
733. So $45,000 last year, they sponsored children within the community for their sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna read this,
Okay.
just because it's for the folks out there who wanna pay attention, because I think it's a great service that you guys have been doing. numbers for Sport BC members and their local clubs by providing grants to help address the financial barriers that many families face when registering their kids in organized sports. And whereas in its 30-year history, KidSport BC and its 40 community chapters have provided funding to close to 100,000 children, including by providing 5,377 kids in 180 communities across British Columbia, with over $1.7 million in registration fees for a season of sport in 2022. And whereas KidSport BC Provincial Fund exists to help cover the cost of sport registration fees for kids living in communities that don't have a KidSport chapter, including the Northern Rockies, where 124 kids were supported in 2022, totaling $45,271 in grants. And whereas KidSport is a participation provides benefits extending beyond improving physical health to enhancing academic performance, fostering a sense of belonging, developing leadership abilities, building confidence, and unleashing potential. I therefore be it resolved that I, Rob Fraser, Mayor of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, do hereby proclaim the week of October 1st to 7th as KidSport BC, powered by Sport BC Week, and congratulate this important organization that contributes to the social fabric of our community. Happy to sign that. Thank you for the work that you do to support that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
We're gonna be taking-
Well, really, but I mean, I'm.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
figures you
All
want.
the great food. Perfect, thank you.
You too. Thank you for coming. You can stay to the end if you like.
This would be a good one to stay because we're closing it right now.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right.